With short introduction, it's about the wireless BattleMesh celebrating its 10th birthday this year. Maybe without celebration, we will see. But maybe we will just do it at Friday at the ISPA. I think it's a good idea. And Marek and Simon will tell us some things, what happened, what might be the plans for the future. And you are all invited to also add some plans and show us your own ideas. Have a warm round of applause for Marek and Simon.
Beine an. Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Okay. We give a short introduction. It's not meant to be longer than 15 minutes. And then we hope to engage everybody in a lively discussion where you can throw in ideas how to move forward. But we start with a look back. We had the 10th edition. Actually, we should start with a warm round of applause for our hosts. I think they have done a really good job. Yeah, I think the 10th edition is another great success in a line of successes. So, just for those who don't know, the BattleMesh was created by two French guys that we also tried to invite to this event for this occasion, but unfortunately they couldn't make it. So we have beautiful pictures of these two. One of them is even labeled, so we have Xavier and Nico. Maybe some of you remember their friendly faces. They were about 9 or 10 years ago, they were on a hacking event and they got in touch with some mesh protocols and people from different mesh protocols, and they felt like they talked to one group and then they talked to another group about the same thing, and they had realized during this discussion that these groups don't talk to each other. And that could be, at that point was the OLSR group, and then there was the Batman group, and there were other groups, and these two guys had the feeling, being outside of the mesh community, that the mesh community needed an event where developers from these various protocols could come together, get to know each other, and ideally talk to one another, to exchange ideas. So they reached out to us with this idea to create this BattleMesh, and they called it a BattleMesh because they felt if the name is catchy enough, then it will provoke all the developers to come. Because who doesn't want to participate in a BattleMesh, or who wants to see his protocol losing in a BattleMesh? So you had to be present to make sure that your protocol, has a chance of succeeding. And so they contacted the both of us and said, so if you two guys sign up, then we get the OLSR guys to come as well, and maybe even the Babel guys from Paris. So this is how it all started. So this is a lovely picture of us. We don't, 10 years ago, that was in Paris, you can see in the background. We were young at that time. We aged quite well, hopefully. So that was the famous announcement in the Hack Lab that hosted the first event that was called the TMP Lab back in 2009. I don't know who has seen it. I don't think it exists any longer, or maybe they moved to some other location. And that's how the BattleMesh started. And maybe you give us a quick rundown to the...
Mm-hmm. That microphone works. Great. Okay. So we have a couple of photos from the various BattleMeshes. Just so you get some impressions. So that was the first one in 2009 in Temp Lab, and we were like 12 people trying to do some tests. You are familiar with that. You see this nice old WRT 54. and ended up barbecuing outside. It was just running for 2 days. Next one was in Brussels, also in Hackspace, and we doubled our participant number. When we were in some camping place near Rome, that was quite fun because we had some outdoor action. If you were camping, yeah, which most of us did. When we were in Catalonia near Barcelona, even more people. BattleMesh number 5 in Greece with a nice warm-up event in Sarantapolo. So people might remember how we emptied the tavern. BattleMesh number 6 in Aalborg, Denmark, organized by the university. BattleMesh number 7 in Leipzig, Germany, organized by the Freifunk people. Then we had BattleMesh number 8 in Slovenia, organized again as a community event in an old military base. That was also quite interesting. It's not used anymore, okay? But the ham radio, okay, no, that's okay. And we have, last year we have been in Porto, organized by Ines. And as you see, the participant numbers have been quite stable over the last years, between 60 and 100 participants. This year's wonderful Vienna. Nice to be here. And we also think we are around 80 to 100. We have to count when we are done. So you have a rough rundown how these events looked like. Who we are. We have hackers, we have open source developers, we have networking people, people from communities, people from universities, academics, also more people from companies, or just people who are active and just careers passing by, looking in the museum and seeing our event. What we want is to share our knowledge among ourselves, bring communities together and talk, experiment, explore, try out things and have fun. We hope so. But the thing is how we continue from now. What do we serve you next? That was BattleMesh number 4. Was a very tasty paella. So that brings us from the past to the future. You want to take over here?
Yeah. Maybe just a piece of information here. So how this typically works for those who just attend the event. There is a core group that's mostly Simon, I, and previous organizers who focus on finding the next location, vetting local teams, the future local team. To find the next location, then we do a visit, typically after we've selected the local team to help them get going, and then we mentor them from wherever we are via phone calls or email or other things to guide them through questions and problems, because the questions and problems we run into are basically the same every year. And then some of the slides you've seen, these are, we give an introduction talk where we explain what the BattleMesh is. Ideally, we want that the local team had at least 1 or 2 people attending a previous BattleMesh to make sure we really do the same thing every year so that you can come back and see the same thing. So the local team, we always recommend has like a certain size. And then, yeah, as I said, we stand by with mentoring from previous years, and Simon and I, we are probably the last remaining BattleMesh dinosaurs. So we we also try to guide people along. But to be honest, after 10 editions, for us, it's time to move on, and we want to give space for other people to take the spotlight. The last couple of years, Simon has been very active. I was already more in the background in a mentoring role before I was very active to keep the BattleMesh running. But we have other things in our life that get us interested, excited. I think you all know how that goes. So this is basically our public announcement that we would like to step down. Now we will step down as the core team. We are very open to hear who is interested in taking over these roles. We will be around to help you guide along. But we have seen our motivation drop, and that's not good for the event. And it's also time to see what else can we do with the BattleMesh.
Yeah, so we want to see some fresh blood. And of course we can help and explain what we did so far, and we hope that also this year's or last year's organizers can help to mentor the next editions. Yeah, so we have two questions basically to solve. Who will organize the next BattleMesh? Who will be mentor, and who will be organizing it, and where do we do it? And also the question is, what do we want to do? So we had the impression that it's a bit hard to organize the tests. There has been a lot of frustration in the past few years, and we had discussions at the end of the week like, what did we achieve? Did we achieve enough? And who is responsible, and whatsoever. What should we do next year? We should prepare. Did anyone prepare? No. We just upgrade the OpenWRT to the latest release because it will be more stable. It will not. So things like that. So we can. That was loud. We can repeat that again and again. But maybe we should discuss or think about what we should change. And we want to throw in a couple of ideas just for discussion, and maybe we can get creative and change a couple of things. Okay?
Hold on. Maybe just to make clear, these ideas that we're going to present are not necessarily our ideas. These are ideas we have heard from various people. We just throw them in here, so we have a starting point. But please feel free to share your idea where you think the BattleMesh should go. This is just, to get you started, get you warmed up. So
yeah.
And who better to warm you up than him? So one idea we heard up and down, and there are various shapes, is that the BattleMesh, instead of being a closed group nerd session hacking on computers, should go around and maybe you should take applications from communities that have real-world problems. Could be installations, could be technical problems, and the BattleMesh goes there for a couple of days to listen to these problems with all this expertise that's assembled and helps that particular community.
Or we just go to a nice place. Test. Yeah, we can just go to a nice place and relax. That's also an option. I mean, Vienna is also very nice. Or, yeah.
Yeah, these are just all shapes and variants. So like we do more workshops, we try to help each other teach things, more like what the event has been turned into in the last years, I would say. There was less focus on a test network except for a few. Others were doing workshops, talks, explaining each other cool stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, or another extreme would be to only do talks with maybe multiple tracks, deliver a lot of content, or maybe not. So, yeah, I think at this point we should open the discussion. We prepared, or we clicked on the link, as you can do now, on that Everpad, so please have a look. I think Nefeli should try to write down, but please help to complete what is being said. Yeah, so what are your ideas, suggestions?
So, hi, everyone. So, something that happened to me during the last 4 months, I have been traveling around America and a little bit of Africa, and had the chance to get to know a lot of community networks that are actually using all the stuff that you're using, that you're doing. That is great. So, thank you on behalf of all those communities. And I also have a bunch of videos that we are going to be showing here for you to be grateful, feel the gratefulness. So it would be nice, perhaps, to think about a more close to the people approach. Perhaps doing the BattleMesh instead of in a fancy place, in a place where community networks that require a lot of your help might reside, and also for you also to see how grounded this is to the reality of many communities. I think that also, at least for me, it helps me to focus a lot on the user's perspective of the problem and to work more fiercely on finding the solutions that they need in order to push forward the needs of the community network movement.
So, this should work? Okay. So, hello everyone. Last year what I felt about organizing the BattleMesh was that most of the people signed for a talk, and we had a very intense agenda of talks. But what I felt I was needed was a challenge. Instead of a battle, I think there was no challenge that was raising up, and I think this year was kind of that problem. So if BattleMesh, instead of the battle itself, it's a challenge, and maybe it's related to what was said previously, it would help having a specific problem to solve in a specific community, for instance, and try to solve that problem with the best solution that we can come up with. So having a specific challenge for the event, I think it would be good for everyone to know in advance and to try to solve it before coming and during the... Yeah, just as we were trying to focus on the recognition mission, that there should be some problem to solve within this community in Vienna, and going to the rooftops and try to solve a specific problem among the community.
I think that the most important stuff is that both of you, are 10 years on this, and I recognize when someone wants to step down. So I think this is the priority thing to talk. I mean, these topics are like, well, it's the option of who comes here. The people that is here decides what to do, and I think it's fine, it's somehow free, but I'm worried about you guys. Myself, I cannot manage, for sure, at least for, let's put 1 year more. But if someone here wants to be in this core team, would be nice. So the next year, if we have a different team, I think this is a good achievement for organization.
Next speaker. Comments, questions, problems?
I'm throwing my point in right now because I feel it's really important for the continuing to have the BattleMesh. So we've now have had 10 years of t-shirts, And we were discussing the other day that maybe we should go for skirts next year with the BattleMesh logo. And this would for sure give a new schwung, how do you call this? Swing for the event. Let's do skirts. Yeah,
More skirts!
Okay.
This is more like a question because well, you change something when you think that it's not working properly. No? So my impression is that from the number of people that you show that are coming, it is not work. It is actually working properly. So my question is, what do you think is the problem right now? What is the need that actually pushed you to propose? Let's do something different. Apart from the fact that you are resigning from being the organizer, but actually, what is the reason why you think that would change?
Around the firmware testbed thing. It has been a reoccurring theme, and I think he wants to share his story. I see that. And we see frustration from some people even stay away from this event because for some reason or another they felt offended during the previous events, all related to this firmware testbed. And that's why we bring this up. And yeah, if the next organizers decide we still keep that, then it's fine. We just want to bring it up as it has been a source of frustration, a pain, I would say, that we can improve, I think.
I think I have a question, which is, how many people here got involved, like more than one day, in any past event in firmware preparation? Like, raise the hands. Okay. Nice. So, and how many people are doing that this year? Okay. Nice. I wasn't aware of that. Like, I only got aware of that yesterday. Yeah, I think let's see what happens this time. But I get the feeling that like most of us just went through that phase, and then this year I'm having a great time, like doing everything else which I couldn't do. And for me, I lost the first part of this talk, but for me, if we keep it like the way we're doing this time, I think it would be.
And can you describe what is it this time?
From my perspective, what I've been doing like yesterday and today was just synchronizing between, like, for example, right now we were like solving a problem on IPv6 tunnels that OLSR didn't yet encounter, that Axel, like we described a lot of time ago, and I think it's a space like for grabbing someone and saying, hey, show me this, and like in 5 minutes you have access to all the brains that are in the community, and that's invaluable. Like the small meeting yesterday with you, so I think for me that's the most valuable thing, but that's one perspective.
As Guy just said, I think if we are doing one scenario for one community or something, we might lose a bunch of people, because if this community has used routing protocol A in the last 10 years, why should the people from B, C, and D come to the conference? Just a thought in my head.
I also have a question. Because I suspect a bit that frustration is a rumor. I mean, maybe it can be optimized, but we just counted some hands. Can those people that are really frustrated, I mean, in a sense, I may not come again due to some issues, raise their hands? Is there really frustration, or is it just a thing that can be optimized? I want to know. I'm not frustrated at all, even if some things went not perfect. Okay. But then the problem, is it solved then? Okay.
Hello. Yeah, I identify myself as someone maybe frustrated. I think I participate on the testbed deployment and development for maybe 3 or 4 years, consecutive years, and last year I didn't want. It was the last one for me because I think people is not any more interested on the results of the testbed, and that's something which is not bad, just change, and it naturally change. So yeah, we can write it down and say it on the web page, like, okay, we are not focusing on the testbed but in the talks and the social event, but it is happening anyway. So I am still here, but I know people who is not here because of this. Yeah. Not because it didn't work, but because of there were many complaints against how the things were done in the past. And yeah, when you spend like a lot of hours or days working on something that afterwards is like everyone just complain, it's frustrating. So for me, it already happened, what you are proposing, to change the topic or the scope. So I like the new format, like leave the testbed like a second, in a second position, and focus on the social event and in the talks. Yeah.
So I like the approach of having a challenge for the BattleMesh, but I think there's an alternative to picking a particular local community as a challenge. It could also be that the participants from the various mesh projects present their challenges that they're facing and maybe have a vote on what should be like the most interesting challenge for the whole BattleMesh to solve, to just bring people together and then see if the whole team is up to meeting that particular challenge.
I second that idea. In my case, like this test I was doing for this IPv6 thing, I'm doing it remotely on our network. So, and it's hard because internet is not working and everything. It would probably make more sense if it was a local challenge or something like that. I was thinking, just to put another question, is so to me it's clear that we are all here, that all the people that are here are people who either never got involved into firmware, so never got frustrated, or got frustrated and like went past that and said, okay, I'm going to do all the rest. Like there is a lot of value in the BattleMesh besides the testbed, and I value that. And all the people that are not here, I can think of, I don't know, 5 people, did not get to that conclusion. It's like the testbed. I'm not sure. I would like to talk with them to see if there is some way to get them interested again, or maybe it was just a social thing that it's like no matter what happens at the BattleMesh, I won't come back if that another person is there or something like that. Yeah? I wonder about this. I wonder if what we are trying to change in order to reintroduce some people, or just to avoid future frustration, kind of. I remember reading some argument in the list, maybe a year ago, someone saying, if there is no test bed and no battle, then BattleMesh is dead. Like if we only put talks and collaboration, then I won't go. And I'm like, okay, I will, but but that's why I'm trying to set, like, who are we trying to re-involve some people that are currently frustrated, or are we trying to prevent frustration in the future? I think that would be.
On the mailing list, there was the idea to compare mesh firmwares, existing firmwares, which are in usage in the communities. I have many notes with me, so I think that would be a nice idea to compare firmwares. LibreMesh against Freifunk MeshKit, against Gluon, against BattleMesh testbed. Maybe we need some categories and a jury, or I don't know. But I think this year that would be nice. Also to see the bug fixes and the workarounds in each firmware. We have people for each firmware who are inside this firmware and can tell the other people the basics and positive and negative things. And then we would have a battle of meshes. Also, there's the idea to compare existing mesh networks in the wild, maybe next year or something like that. But firmware is an interesting thing. The old OLSR against Batman Advanced and other things. 11S, also interesting.
Okay, for me, this is my 4th BattleMesh, and I think you guys should give yourself a little more credit, because I skipped a few and then I'm back, and I see the group is growing up. For example, this year with the testbed, I think it's working just fine. It's really simple. The protocol developers, they whipped together a config. I think everything is running now, so we can go ahead. And to me personally, I see the character is changing, like more talks and more exchange of experiences. But to me personally, also the trying out of the new stuff that was integrated into the kernel the last year is definitely a very real aspect. I really want to see like the airtime fairness and the minstrel stuff, because that's new. And I want to see it in the mesh and how it truly performs for all the protocols. And then maybe if we see strange stuff, we can sit together and figure out what's going on. So that's one of the aspects for me. And yeah, well, if people get frustrated doing testbed stuff, we should work it out when we're here, not let it escalate like maybe it happened before. But right now, I think it's working very well, this year anyway. So my 2 cents.
Yeah,
Okay. So first, something to add to what UFO said. In regard of the firmwares, I would suggest, instead of doing a battle of the firmwares, we could think about a family of the firmwares. So instead of putting each firmware side by side and make them compete with each other, think about, get together the time that we are here in order to see how many things we have in common and start merging code instead of seeing which one is the best one and such. So we could, instead of doing the battle of the mesh, we could do the family of the mesh or something like that. So, and the other thing, I will hijack Guy's comment, regular comment. We, in the same approach of changing the battling with the family ing, we should think about having a more broader audience with more equality in gender thing. I would encourage everyone to look around your own communities
and also the communities that aren't here that may be interested in engaging with us that are more gender neutral or gender diverse.
Yeah, personally, I would like to broaden the scope of the BattleMesh. For me personally, it was never really about testing mesh protocols because as an OpenWRT developer or now lead developer, I'm, yeah, for me it was always just a nice. It was always a nice opportunity to get in touch with people. Like for me, it's really unique event because it's more like wireless battle or wireless mesh that you see at or summit of some kind. So it's not so much about the routing protocols for me, but about firmware, about communities, about problem solving. Like this year, we've seen I don't know, we see talks about communication overseas or about I don't know, Unix or charging mechanisms and stuff like this. All this utility stuff surrounding actual routing protocols in mesh. So yeah, it's unique. This event is unique.
And integrating the different parts of the different communities and comparing the different protocols and just getting everybody to work together to have a friendly competition. I think there's a lots of value in the learning experience to keep doing that, especially because it confronts people with different ideas and different approaches and forces them to work together in a way. So I think this is something that's worth keeping if you just emphasize that it's not about the result of the battle, but about the learning experience along the way.
This is my first BattleMesh, and I haven't really looked at too deeply at like the results of previous ones. I think I've gone through them, but I was wondering, have these results been useful to protocol developers? Do they change over the years? Like, oh, that's great.
I have a slight comment about like learning on the process of. I have the feeling that at least on past years, the firmware was much more absurdly complex than any real scenario, and so like there was some experience that was not really valuable in terms of like what you learned that you're trying to do something that is too complex. And like I don't think in that case. So if this year is simpler, I think that would be a good a key thing to focus. Yes, or maybe it's like not putting the focus because I didn't feel that this year the focus was put on the test bed, so maybe that's why. Maybe that's why it's running.
Yeah, maybe what is not expected comes to be the best. So if the test bed is not planned, everything that goes tested is a plus, and maybe that helps redefining the event. So I think the talks are really the one of the key elements of the BattleMesh, and of course, if you bring the hardware and if you want to test something and it happens like this year, I think everyone is more happy with the results that are coming. So maybe the task of the test manager that you were last year, maybe it doesn't make sense anymore to try to think of a test bed and try to search for the best firmware to put in the test bed. So if we skip all of that part, maybe we can focus on what's the really important, not expecting results, but expecting talking with people. And also another question that I wanted to raise is the full week duration the best to continue? So we are almost 1 week of the duration of event. Should it be longer? Should it be shorter? Is it okay? That's something that I wanted to bring to discussion. Should we make this more like 3 days and 24 hours, like a continuous BattleMesh, or should, I don't know, something? No sleep, just coding. Or just sleep within the room of the BattleMesh.
Okay, I think for tests, I think we need a week. But if you would have an event that would be like 3 days, it might attract people who don't have that much time. I don't know. But okay, if you could argue when we have 1 week, people could still decide to just stay 3 days. So I'm not sure, but at least for testing, I think 3 days would be too short. Unless the process is really streamlined and straightforward, but I don't think that's that easy.
From my perspective of collaborating and reaching out to people, I think like there is never enough time. But at the same time, I've seen people come for 2 days or 3 days inside the whole week. So, but
if you come middle of the event, you will not have someone to guide it or to explain what is happening. I felt it last year. Some people were coming in the middle and they were asking, "So what's going on? What's happening?" It's a little bit hard to talk for the first time to a certain people if you don't know what's happening. And if it's a little bit, maybe it's a little bit shorter, people can come on the first day and leave on the last day, and be more in line on what's happening.
regarding the firmware comparison, I would call it that way, not a battle. That idea, I brought it up a bit in the recon mission, but I did not write it down or anything. But I totally second it, and I think, yeah, it's not. I don't think it's saying which firmware is the best, but like doing a showcase of features, which is because every firmware is trying to solve a different scenario and is focusing on something different. So, but at the same time, I think it's very rich. For example, this auto, like this sys upgrade done right. I never focus on that because it's not a problem for me, but it's valuable that we add it. That was the question. And I think we have some clever solutions to some things that might be good for other people. And yeah.
So I wanted to get back to the issue of having a full week versus 3 days, and maybe there's a way to kind of do both, so that you start on a Friday and have a 3-day structured kind of program with a conference style, but still enough time for people to have real conversations, and then you have the following 4 days be more free form for 3-day conferences and just go to the 3-day part, and the people that want to have a full week and lots of time for socializing can just take the full program. And if you put the first 3 days on a week, you get people the proper introduction to the event and what it's all about, and maybe some people could then decide, oh, I plan to only go for 3 days, but now I want to do the full thing. So it would be 2 in 1. Maybe that could attract more people and widen the scope.
Sorry.
Hi. Blues and I, we had just an idea about social activities, and I want to introduce 3 games we can play even this year. So there's this one game called Mesh Bug Hunting Challenge. So we have 2 teams, and they have to leave the room, and then we have a mesh network, like with Batman or Alice R2, and then we put little errors in the config, like from the routing protocols, or we just enable silently the firewall and forbid ICMP, stuff like that. And then the teams have 30 minutes to find all these 10 or 20 bugs. Game number 1.
So we managed to have a working test bed, and now you want to break it.
Yes. So then nobody can say anymore, no, I didn't participate in the development of the testbed. Everybody has seen it then. Gamification, yes, maybe. Another game is Löting, soldering against Bastian Bittdorf. So, Bluse, what was game number 3? Ah, yes, you have the task to configure a mesh network, like five rounds, and you have a plain OpenWRT or your own build environment, and you just enable the packages, and then you have the time factor to how fast are you to bootstrap a running Batman mesh. And the challenge is to transfer a little movie file. I think Bastian know which kind of movie. Yeah, Batman will fail. I think Batman will be the showstopper. Thank you.
Okay, so I'd like to come back to what Felix said. First the track with talks and then with more freeform. I was a speaker and doing tutorials on different kind of conferences. And what I did there was the first day you do tutorials, then the conference, and then whatever you want. So maybe you can attract more new people that want to do tutorials, and then after the tutorials they're prepared for all the talks. So it makes it easier for new people to flow into the conference. Maybe that's an idea.
So good. I was just, yeah, whatever. I wanted to come back to the point of you stepping down as organizers and who's going to run it all, and I wanted to ask is it a sustainable idea that there isn't like this type of a core order, but that the team from last year mentors the team from who says, yeah, we want to do it next year, so it's kind of a just organically passing the experience on, and maybe some people who did it previously also can spontaneously kind of join this preparation committee or whatever? Or do you think it's not doable from your experience?
It's a totally new mic. Maybe it works better. To answer that question, so it's not when I called us the core team. It's not because we like to have this stripe, core team. Actually, it's more a burden. It's like in many cases we didn't find volunteers that are willing. The BattleMesh is nice. We're all having fun. But we know on Sunday it ends, and on Monday the real world starts again. And at that point, like, it's fading, the attention span is fading rapidly that the BattleMesh gets. And usually, for most people, it picks up 1 or 2 weeks before the next event. So, and our role is mostly pinging people and say, hey, the next BattleMesh is coming. Have you done this? Have you done that? And then we send repeatedly emails and ping people just to get the ball rolling again. And I think you need some level of dedication to do that. Otherwise, real world will just roll over you, and there are many things that go on. You have study, you have work, you change your home or whatever, and we are more the pushers.
Yeah, I mean, in this case, if you are not pinging people constantly to do stuff, then everything working would be a pleasant surprise, as somebody was saying there.
Yeah, it's okay. Maybe I just share a few anecdotes so you understand better what we do. So, for example, during the BattleMesh 4, we couldn't kind of agree on what the next destination is because nobody who was present said, okay, I want to do it. So, and then everybody left, and then the weeks passed by, and we had no next destination. And everybody's like, yeah, everybody's doing their stuff. So in the end, it was a small group, including me and Nico and Pau, and I think, Pau, you were there too, right? In Greece, when we then just went to Greece, and we spent 1 week vacation to find the next host for the BattleMesh. And we ran around and talking about the BattleMesh, hoping to incentivize some people to actually do it. So this is more like just one anecdote. We could give more anecdotes. At Portugal was a little similar. So at the BattleMesh 8, we had a lot of people coming down and say, yeah, I want to do it. And we had a long list, and as soon as the BattleMesh ends, the enthusiasm goes down, and then we call them like months later and say, hey, you still want to do that? You said you want to do it. And then, yeah, well, I have other things, blah, blah, blah. And then we reached out to Felipe to make number 9 happen. So it's really like just keeping an eye on things and, making sure it happens. You want to add something?
Yeah, so just maybe one small point. So we always say, hey, the community is doing something. Community is making it happen, blah, blah, blah. But, there must be people who do it by their own. And sometimes we were the people pinging these volunteers and asking them by private email, hey, how about volunteering for that? And if you volunteer, how about writing that to the public mailing list? I think a couple of you got these emails from me. Yeah, so even if I send these call for volunteers, which I did, when there's no reply, and when you did that last year, it was like lots of pushing, writing private emails, all that kind of things. So I think other people can do that as well, and I think we can count on our previous organizers to help with that. but we also want to make you aware that we want to step down. So this is why we are discussing that. But I think it's totally good to, bring some other ideas into that. So we have a finished concept, but people can also, bring new ideas into it. Yeah.
I think key question is, why have you been doing this all these years? I mean, what were your inner drive? What was your inner drive to do that? Like, why did you want so badly the BattleMesh to happen? You get what I mean? I think it's a key question to understand who could take that position, who has the same profile and who has the same...
So for me personally, I think there are different reasons. One of them is, I wanted to learn how to organize these things. I found that thrilling, and I wanted to see the BattleMesh happening. Nobody else was doing it. So it's a mix of those things.
For me, it was more like, in the beginning we had a crew that really goes back 10 years now that met at the C3 event. There's a chaos communication event in Berlin happening, and we had the feeling there wasn't enough time to really discuss wireless things. It became more and more social and political and other things, and we were a group that felt like, okay, we really want to do technical things. We don't want to talk about how to lobby the government into something or whatever. We wanted to have an event that is tailored for wireless, where we can discuss wireless nerdy things. And that in the beginning was one of my main drivers, and of course the fun of it. I mean, I know we all have a lot of fun when we come together. At least I have. So, and I have fun organizing things and bringing people together. But after a while, it's just, it's a bit tedious. You're always the guy whipping, get this going. And you said, oh, by this date you will do that, but it's 1 month ago. How about you do this now? And the event is coming, and you should send a public announcement, and all these things just becomes a little bit tiresome after doing this for a while. Actually, I like the idea of like the current event finding the next destination, although my concern would be it puts even more burden on the local team. So maybe nobody wants to volunteer because it's a 3-year sign up. Because the local team, to be honest, I mean, we do this for many years, but the local team, it's quite stressful for them, especially in the days leading up to the event and during the event. And after the event, typically they need a couple of days to just relax. And then if we tell them, well, and now you're responsible for the next event too, it's... What? Oh, we don't tell them.
I mean, I think that it could be doable, like coupled as well. I guess you already have some of it, like kind of detailed documentation of what all the steps are and what needs to be done, how to approach a venue, what the criteria are, blah, 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 blah. And so, like, coupled, I mean, I don't want to underestimate what you're doing, but, I mean...
What has to be done and when, like a deadline, by what time you should prepare it, how important it is, if it should be prepared by the local team or the community, like remote people, finding volunteers. We have all these announcements which we do. We have sent the same kind of announcement every year, and you just, change the name and change the date. yeah, so there's a lot of resources which you can use or bring in new ideas, of course.
Yeah, it's yeah. I think over the years we worked it out pretty well. I mean, it's not that hard, but it's a commitment because you're the last man in the line or lady, and if you don't do anything, there won't be any BattleMesh anymore. That's mostly it. I mean, it's sometimes we have phone calls with the local team just to, you know, give them a sense we're there, we answer their questions, we try to calm them down if they are freaked out about something, or, you know, it's more like really mentoring, counseling, and reminding everybody, hey, next BattleMesh is coming, you need to do something.
The question would be, does the current local team... Okay. and another question would be, I had the feeling that at some degree, that was already happening. So Felipe came here because he organized last event, but you two also came. So what would be the main change, or what?
Maybe I can answer. Yeah, that was more or less happening this year, but the previous year on the V9, no one from the V8 was coming, right? Yeah. So there was a lack. The thing is, if they didn't come, would I come to visit places? Would I know enough to decide the next year's event? It's a good question. From my point of view, this one is my third BattleMesh. Okay, it's not very difficult to organize. Well, it's a lot of effort, of course, and we can ask Paul and Clemens and Albert, what's the effort? It's not difficult to organize if you know the rules. But it's hard to be the last man in the line. Because if it didn't happen, for example, if I didn't come, maybe they would, or for sure they would. Because they have yeah, some sort of commitment and a sense of not wanting to fail in this kind of line. The thing is, maybe I think it's a good solution to have the previous ones. Maybe we just need a little bit more time to create that, not only the previous one, but also the previous. Because otherwise, the question is, will the current local team know enough to make the task that you are doing? I don't think so. Because I wouldn't, and in this case. Of course, I was helping the local team answering some logistical questions at most, but my background on BattleMesh is too new to be in your position, what you are doing. That's at least my feeling.
There's also, and just to add something to what you're saying, there's also the idea of continuity and about losing a lot of knowledge, experience, and information. There are two brains over there that can tell you what happened to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 10. If you have only somebody who had the experience, for example, of number 5, in the end, when you arrive to number 9, things have changed, and you have lost a lot of information. So maybe if every year is checking the next one, maybe a very good documentation would be helpful, or otherwise it would be very, very, very good to have somebody who is responsible for a longer period of time. It's maybe not for 10 years, but for 5 years, but having this kind of roles moving along would be really beneficial for the community.
Yes, well, I mean, yeah, I'm partially with you on this point, but I mean, both of them, they're not gone, right, when they step down. And I think if there's some questions or like problems that do need expertise or do need continuity that nobody else can answer, then you can for sure ask and there will be an answer, and then wouldn't be an ignore from Marek and Simon. But I mean, all of these things, like what Philippe was saying, I don't know a lot of things, and I'm not sure that I would be able to help with a lot of things. I mean, it's learning by doing, and at the end, then, oh my God, then some things don't get done, or in the extreme case, oh my God, then no BattleMesh is taking place, and people learn from that. I don't know. Maybe I'm too optimistic on the do-it-yourself part.
Just the reverse question of, you said, if you didn't come to the recognition, would they come? Yes, for sure. That was your feeling. I asked the reverse. If they didn't come, do you feel that you with Albert, Pau, and Clemens could have bootstrapped this year BattleMesh or not? And if not, how, like, there is missing documentation or?
I think I can answer that. So when at the recognition mission at the V9, so in 2015, I knew in advance that by organizing the V9, I would be mentoring the V10. So that was something that was already told from there. So if you want to do it, you have to be mentor of the V10, and that challenge was accepted. Okay. And I think same was given to the current team, I think. If not, it was our mistake to not to say to them in somehow to be mentoring the next editions. Was it said? Sort of. Okay. Good.
This is the question. Do you think that their participation in everything else was like key, something you could not have done yourself without the one?
I think it's easier when you have more background, of course, so you have a little bit more credit asking people to do some tasks. So I cannot answer fully your question. I don't know. But the thing is, this commitment of going to the next edition, I think is something to keep on. And instead of just, maybe the mentoring team can be broader. So instead of stepping down, maybe just in a more passive role, instead of being so much active, not quitting the mentoring part, but just be there in a, okay, just a little bit more tough decision. I don't know. Anyone else?
I think we have to distinguish between two things. People that cannot commit because personal life, personal stuff that is going on that probably is transitional, and people that is afraid of doing it bad. The first one, it's more difficult to manage, but the second one, well, it's just doing it, you will know it will go on, and you have a lot of editions, a lot of expertise. I think with you should be another one person at least, no?
I didn't ask for it, but yeah. Maybe it makes sense that I say a little because I have now a direct experience. No, wait. That's one thing, it's not over yet, so no. I think what we're trying here is to keep this tradition alive, right? That's the main thing, that keeps on going, and whatever direction it takes, we want it just to not fade away. And for that, I see it like in an analogy to a ship, that if it has a very well-defined course, you can exchange the captain from time to time, and it still heads in a well-defined way. And what I experienced during the organization of this iteration was that and is it the testbed that is so central, or are the talks, or just the chatting? There are many different viewpoints on that, and I think if you can find a common denominator of what it should be for the next few years to come, not for eternity, but for the next few years, then I would say a lot of the problems that we currently see will go away, like the motivational problems of some people, because it's clear defined what we expect and what we want to do here. For me, this was always the confusing part when I was only sort of not organizer, but at BattleMeshes, that I didn't know exactly what was the common goal that everybody likes to pursue, and the simple suggestion that I would have for this common goal is, I don't know, how many of you have been at the Chaos Communication Congress at least once? Yeah, I mean, it's maybe 20% or something like that, but to me this thing here feels like a congress, but just a factor 100 smaller. But what people do, and the parallelity of crazy experimentation and the talk program, that's sort of the center of the whole thing, I would say we just keep doing that and accept, or maybe find a common denominator. What's it about? Because it's not about all the topics of the Congress, it's about this specific meshing and open source. So I think all we have to do is find a better name, actually. Battling made sense 10 years ago, because there was this one question that people are really... Yeah, so it sounds a bit strange, but this was what caused me the main problems during the organization, that it was called battle, but then when you want to explain it to someone, it's not really clear what, yeah. If these things go a little bit away, then organization and motivation will be better, I think. So, but again, last thing I want to say is, I don't want to suggest that we change the name right now. I just want to say we should start this discussion, because, yeah, if you change it right now, that would be absolutely catastrophic. If mentors and name and blah blah blah, so that's too risky. But I just want to say that for me, during the organization, that the fact that this was called a BattleMesh, which is an original question from 10 years, was causing a lot of unclearness in what direction the ship should be steered.
Yeah, and just to give you some comfort, we have this discussion, what is this, really for many, many years. So don't feel overly, you have to solve this now. And that's what we tell actually all the local teams over and over again, is just make it your event. And then every local team can add its own spice to the soup. And that's also what happened. And I think that's a good thing. My feeling, just to share my feeling, is like this test bed, I think there seems to be a consensus. It becomes less important, and that probably opens the way for another name or a clear message what we do and what we don't do. But it's a bit out of scope for this discussion. The idea was to get you all started, so you have a couple of days, talk about it, and come to us or discuss with each other as you like. We won't disappear. So we will still be around to help, the next editions, but we definitely want to take a step back. And maybe let's, for the closing, we're trying to close the session a little bit now because I see some people are, trying to fade away here slowly. Maybe we try this idea. Actually, I like Lucy's idea that the current team goes forward and makes the next event happen. And one of the rituals is, what is the next location going to be? And at that point, we will hand over to the local team. We will still be here on your side, and you can lead this discussion. Yes. So who from the local team, one or two, come to the stage, give them a warm round of applause. Yes. Just get the discussion started. And my recommendation, if you don't have a destination by the end of this event, it's going to be very hard.
I would just want to say it's fun to organize this, so why not have it in Vienna again? Paul? I think that you did most of the work, so it's really up to you to decide, right?
Okay, I don't know. Who has at least not a who has a little bit of love for this?
I say, loving Meshach. Logo is a R. That would be the next thing.
Yeah.
So you want to do the next event? You want to do the next event? If you can change the name.
No, actually, yeah. The name suggestion, maybe. I think we should call it, the next iteration should call it BattleMesh, and then a sort of a second thing, and then sort of fade over. But that's a side point now. It's really not that much work. It's no, really, it is. It is. The sort of the rules are pretty codified, the schemes, and when you have to do what, it's all there is so much experience that went into these rules. Those rules work really good. So all you have to do is write a couple of emails, basically. Yeah, so I'd say it's a great learning opportunity. So
no, yeah, I'm volunteering to talk, not to organize. Well. It's. I think it was a great fun to organize this kind of events. I would be free to organize it, not next year, maybe within 2 years or so.
Is this a commitment?
No, just a suggestion. But yeah, as Paul said, yeah, it's a little bit of hard work. But I think it pays out later. But you need a core team of at least 3 to 5 people, as was being presented. Otherwise, it's a little bit tough to do it. Okay, yeah. Now it's written. But yeah, I think it's not that much risky to do it. Of course, if it's a commitment and you need to do it. By the way, it's Philip with an I. But so it's not me. It's not me. It's not me. But yeah, just. Okay. That's okay. So just even if you are not sure if you can make it, it's a good way to start. Okay, I might be able to do it. I might be able to have a team. It's not really a commitment of today. Something that should be started to think of If you think you have a space or a local team of 3 people and you are willing to push this forward, I think it's a good idea to think about it. And okay, just say, I might be able, I need some help, maybe 1 or 2 people more, but I think I could do it, and we are here to help, of course. Yeah. You wanted to?
Organizing the event is pretty fun, much fun actually, and I would say just go for it. It works in the end somehow. I'm still not sure how it worked in V5. I was there all the time, and there is a sense of you can take a lot from the event. There's a sense of accomplishment and a sense of a very, very happy feeling at the end of it. Probably because of the adrenaline rush, I'm not 100% sure.
So, okay, compared to other events, this is probably one of the really easier events. I've had some other event last year in October where we were, I think, a few more people, but a really lot of more work to do. And this has actually been quite fun, although I've mostly been in the periphery. And Paul and Albert have been doing most of the work. No, you created the logo, so there's no BattleMesh without a logo.
No, that's not really true, because I was just the extended mouse pointer of many of the people who wrote their ideas. So it's LibreOffice created the logo, and I just pushed the cursor to the right direction with your help.
Okay, so basically, from my perspective, if you think about doing this, you actually need more or less 3 people. You need 1 or 2 people who are more or less really committed to this. 1 person who does most of the work. No, 1 person who more or less keeps an eye on things and tries to distribute this. And a 2nd person who helps, and a 3rd person who knows how much or how much work this will be the actual week, which is not that much as I've expected. But yeah, it's great to have a team between 3 and 6 people, but for setting it up, more or less 2 to 3 people who are committed work out quite fine. So if you think about doing an event like this, or the BattleMesh, or whatever it will be called, you need some spare time for this, but don't think about taking a full month of vacation. You won't need this. It's more or less over a few months, every few days, something to do. And you can always try to find people who work with you, who, especially at the conference, and also at a conference like this, where you have a lot of people here who are actually not really visitors, but more or less members of the conference, who will actually work with you and do stuff for you. It's actually quite easy. So my question to Paul actually is, what were the problems you were facing this year?
My own procrastination, mostly. Sorry, that was simple truth. Yeah, apart from that, what I would like to add.
The silence on the mailing list is sometimes deafening. So I think that most of the time when you write someone with a specific request, okay, and will help you. But if you fire out something and you just ask for contributions, then it's not always the case that everyone jumps in and will push ahead with this.
One thing that was from my point of view, totally helpful is that there was a clear separation of competences in some sense here. And 3 people, it was literally like, you have a lead designer, you have a lead technician, and then you have a lead finance guy, more or less, and that's it. And yeah, must not be the finance guy that writes most of the emails, it can be a different role assigned. But these 3 competences, sort of one guy who keeps an eye on the numbers, one guy who does all these bike shedding things, like should it be red or green or bigger or smaller, blah, blah. And then there's a guy who is really doing the infrastructure, so that so like streaming and the streaming uplink and all these things. And also Clemens is a contact person to the museum, so it was really, really helpful to have him on the team. And so for Albert and for me, I was taking over the rest, and that's all you need.
So what was actually quite easy was the location. Because we already knew the location, and I already did a conference here for a full week last year. And I think this is more or less the hardest part. If you have a location for like 60 to, sorry? Location and hostel, but hostels are usually really easy. But I think the initial problem is finding a good location for this event. So if you have an idea, you're more or less almost done with most of the work.
Yeah, and a good location can be nearly everything. We had battle meshes on something like a strange zoo, or in the cities and out on the country. So, and yeah, mixing up is nice. So it doesn't need to be a museum or a conference.
What if it's in the US?
Well, it would be something different. we always had the problem just to stick in Europe, but it has a reason. So, but you want to do it.
Oh, we have 22,000 square foot building.
That was enough.
At all the battle meshes have been discussions about doing a battle mesh overseas, so it doesn't have to be the one battle mesh also, and maybe just do it. See how many people will come. If there are so many people who will really fly to the US, or if they are allowed to, if they get in the country, or if we have to do the battle mesh at the airport.
Maybe you can do it on the border to Canada.
So.
In any other part of America, you can break the rules anywhere you want, anywhere, no matter what the antenna is, and everyone can get in without getting any visa or anything. So my proposal is that if we do it in America, I won't go to the US because I need it. I mean, if the proposal is doing it overseas, I would do it anywhere but United States. But that's just my personal stance. I have other 2 questions. One is, what about, I don't remember the third, but what about the food? What about the food in Porto? How did you organize that? And what about the food this year? I think that's something that is missing?
First this year?
Yeah, this year it was with the help from Isa. No? It was really like an ad hoc thing, and we had also the location. Otherwise, it would be us going out to restaurants, I guess. And it was the university.
Well, last year we were at the university canteen, so it was we managed to put those costs into the sponsorship of the main event. So that really depends on the location for the next event. But having some sort of not having high cost on the food is a plus, of course. If you needed to go to restaurants every day, then it would depend on the price of the restaurants. If it would be 10 or 15 euros per each meal, it would be quite expensive. In last year, the full meal was quite cheap because the canteen is very cheap for this kind of events. So it really depends on the venue of the event. So that's something to think of when you propose a place.
Does anybody remember how was it in Slovenia? There was catering. Yeah, we ordered lunch nearly every day. And one day we've been in the city as social event. So yeah, Leipzig. We've been on the trailer park one day as social. The other days, most people got just the street down and went to eat.
If you want to say something, you can go ahead as well. No, I just wanted to ask or propose that. I don't know what you're planning, but I don't think that we're coming up with a location for the next 20 minutes as a part of this session. So I was wondering whether it would be a good idea to kind of try to wrap it up and just give out the message that people are thinking about organizing it at their community.
I'm hungry.
So one of the things I was thinking about in the last few days or weeks actually was, if you look at the schedule, there are lots of events in Europe. There are lots of camps, and more or less you can go on an event every week in some part of Europe, which is more or less like where people doing net politics and so on meet. So the question is, does this have to be a separate event? Or for example, there's a small camp in Hungary every year in Fort Monostor, which is actually a really old fort from before the First World War, as far as I know, which has a circumference of more than 2 kilometers. It's still a small camp. Last year there have been about 70 people there, but it was a really cool camp. So compared to a CCC camp where 4,000 people are there, it was actually really cool because it's a bit smaller. You have lots of space, and it was at a really cool location. So the question is, would it be possible to have this event at another event, more or less, so that you also that we also more or less mix people from different communities, not only the network communities or the wireless network communities, but also people who, I don't know, just nerds who want to go camping with fiber optics inside their tents, for example. Any thoughts on that from the core team?
Yeah, let's wrap it up. I would say one more thing is first, let's get 20 pizzas. Sounds that right? Because we have leftovers also. Okay. There is one which is known to be very good right across the street. You have to tell me which type, then I'll do the order. And you want?
About the pad or this discussion, in my opinion, it would be great that we have like small discussions again this week, and that if you have spare time, you can look into the pad, and if you have ideas, please write them down. Even if you have an idea, like I would find it really cool if we would do this event there, even though we don't know anybody locally there, because this would actually be no problem. Because in my opinion, it would be even no problem to do this event at a location where there is nobody local there. So just carry the stuff there. Most of the things we have here actually is brought here. So if we think that we have a cool location, why not do it there?
Formentera, or I think it was somewhere in Canarias, that was willing to do it, and then he he vanished. Okay, but my proposal is let's do it in Formentera, and the recognition includes like 3 days off in Formentera. For Guy.
Anyone else needs to say something really, really important? Because then I would say, yeah, let's wrap it up, and we don't have to find an answer right now, but until the end of this event, we should have definitely one. Yeah, and whoever will be the host or the organizing team of the next event, it will turn out to be a very gratifying experience for you. That's what I can almost guarantee. So think about it. It's worth it.
Yeah, I've just announcements for the time when the pizza arrives. We would like to discuss about the lead stable releases later today evening. So yeah, let's do a workshop. Who like to be there, just speak me up so I can find a place where we can sit and discuss and do things.
Just a short commercial. I still have a lot of t-shirts, cups of the best protocol in this event. So just talk to me. Thank you.